Okay, let's go to my man here. In the back, Danny Segura. He's there somewhere. There he is, Bigote himself. How are you, sir?
I'm good, you?
You can see Casey back there. I see Casey.
Yeah, he's out there.
Wait, it's dos bigotes.
Those bigotes, yeah.
Very good. All right, well, nice to see you both, I suppose. I heard, you, as you told me, the calls, many of them I see.
Man, we had a ridiculous amount of calls. It was overwhelming.
People were fired up.
Yeah, I think, this was one of the best cards I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was great.
Probably the best in 2019.
Yep.
We actually have a question about that.
All right, let's just waste not another minute.
All right, well, there's a lot of pressing matters, but there's none more important than this one. A tweet came out recently, so I thought we should address it. So let's discuss that.
Hey, Luke and Danny, this is Matthew calling from the armpit of the world, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. My question is, Justin Bieber just made a tweet tagging Dana White and asking if he was interested in putting on a fight between him and Tom Cruise. Now, this is obviously kind of ridiculous, but I guess my question would be, do you ever think we'll see two celebrities fight in the octagon? And if you guys could pick two celebrities to fight in the octagon, which one would you just pick? And my apologies for the ridiculous question, but it is sort of newsworthy. Thanks.
Yeah, here's the answer. You've already seen a celebrity in CM Punk or Brock Lesnar, either one.
Beaver versus Cruz. What you got?
Let me explain something to you. I would rather. What would I rather do? I would rather watch my family get set on fire in front. I'd rather watch every member of my family, male or female, be honor killed in front of me than spend 5 seconds thinking about that fight. How about that?
Well, I got Beaver. I think he'd piece Cruz up.
Bieber wouldn't piece up a kid.
He trains with Floyd, though.
Bieber wouldn't piece.
He trains with Floyd.
Yeah, does he? He wouldn't.
He does.
He wouldn't piece up a kid's meal, please. These guys who've never been in a confrontation in their life, and not that I'm Billy Badass, far from it. As a street fighter, I'm about 500, bro. I'm a journeyman on the street. I am no more, no less. But at least, a couple times I've had to take care of myself to varying degrees of success. These people who've had security around them a few times, they live in a different universe, bro. And I take him. Let me tell you how seriously I take him. About as seriously as Drake, which is to say, not at all. Not at all.
How dare you question Justin Bieber,
two
man.
zeros who know nothing about the real world. F them both.
All right, well, let's talk about some real fighting now. And, Henry Cejudo picked up a huge win. I think in a lot of people's eyes, he started, entering that pound-for-pound conversation. So let's discuss what's next for him.
Hey, Luke. This is Peter Dempsey from Yonkers, New York, the Lost Borough. I just wanted to ask about Henry Cejudo and what's next for him. I don't see any way they could let him fight Cruz. Definitely not Garbrandt or whoever else he was mentioning. I see maybe Sterling. I don't know who else it could be, but I'd love to hear your take on it. Thanks, Luke. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, apparently he wants to fight all of Ali's other clients. He's got a bunch
Everyone
of
who's not a top contender.
He's got a bunch of them. Yeah, it was funny, all the names he called out, because we know that, remember, Garbrandt was supposed to fight in the July show for Sacramento, and he and his manager both said no. Ali told us that here. And then Cruz is out for the foreseeable future. I know he's still rehabbing and he's training, but I don't know how ready he is. It was funny he didn't mention any of the top contenders. He just wanted other people with names. It's amazing that these guys, they want to prove themselves against the best fighters that they can. And this was something of a vanity fight, but also a very tough one.
Yes.
And then when they get to that space, they're like, I am done with the donks. I want to fight. When I say that, I mean name value. I want to fight anyone and everyone who's on anyone else's radar. This is what that pay structure incentivizes, to be quite candid with you. Boxers will fight nobody with any name because they're going to get 40 mil to do it. Triple G.
Exactly.
Triple G fighting, he's out here just fighting. I don't want to be disrespectful, but that guy had nothing for him. And he still got paid to do it.
Yeah.
The reason why these guys are calling out people with names is because those are the ways they're going to maximize their pay. You want them to stop doing that? Give them a check to fight Aljamain Sterling, because Aljamain Sterling, Danny Segura, is your top contender.
You think that's the fight to make?
It's that or Joe B, right?
I like the Joe B fight a lot.
You like that one more?
Yeah, because I feel like Sterling, with this win, he just got to the queue, right, to the front of the line. Whereas Joe B has been there for a minute, and he has a win over Cejudo.
Yeah, but he also has a fight at the end of the month.
Yeah, well, because he's had no option but to keep busy. So I think that should be next. And look, I'm all about flyweight. I like the flyweight division. I don't know why it's going away, or apparently not going away. But I think that's the fight to make. And I think if you are going to dissolve it, I think Joe B should be at least the last man to get a crack at that belt.
Did you see Dana White's interviews or like things with Aaron Bronstetter?
Yeah, I did.
It's like, can he answer Aaron's questions without being like awful or rude every single time? Is that possible for Dana? It's like Aaron asking the most fair, utterly reasonable questions.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean by the word gone? Have I said it's gone? Well, then if I didn't say the word gone, then it's definitely not gone. It's like, meanwhile, the division has been decimated.
I think there's like 10 flyweights left or something.
It's just, okay, I mean, which is fine. Like, just say, we're going to keep it around like women's featherweight. It's going to be like the men's version of women's featherweight. We're just going to have it float in the background. As we need it, we will use it, and that's just what it's going to be. Okay, all right, fine,
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty upfront about, women's featherweight. Why can't they be about flyweight, men's flyweight?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. All right, well, as I said at the top, Cejudo, in a lot of people's eyes, not only came into that pound-for-pound great conversation, but also just in combat sports athletes in general. I think a lot of people are considering him to be, one of the best.
Here's the thing. I haven't done pound-for-pound rankings in literally years, so I don't know how I would answer that one anymore. But certainly I would say this, man. I don't think he's at the top of pound-for-pound, but he needs to be taken a lot more seriously than he has been. I think at a bare minimum.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, let's listen to this question and discuss it.
It's Paul from Chicago. What do you think about Henry Cejudo's claim that he's the greatest combat sports athlete of all time? My opinion, he's definitely got to be up there, but I wouldn't give it to him. Because the reason he considers himself to be that, or one of the main reasons he considers himself to be that, is because of his wrestling accolades. And I think wrestling is a more limited type of combat sports. And if you're choosing the greatest combat sports athlete, it should be the closest to a fighting situation with reasonable restrictions, like the rules they have in place in MMA. Essentially the greatest MMA fighter of all time.
All right, I'm going to cut it right there.
These MMA fans will twist. It's a great question, but MMA fans will twist themselves into a knot to say that other combat sports are limited. Let me explain something to you. Wrestling has been around for literally hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Okay? And at this current level, the participatory rate of wrestling as a global sport, like how many people compete in it, is infinitely higher than MMA. There are structures in place in which to advance. In other words, to get to the highest level and stay at the highest level in wrestling, I have terrible news for MMA fans. It is way harder to do that than it is to become a high-level UFC fighter. That's just a fact. It's not up for debate. It's just the reality of things. Consider Cormier made 2 Olympic teams. Henry could only make 1.
Yeah.
Now, he got his act together, and this latest run, I don't mean to demean it, it's incredible. He is certainly, I think, Danny, one of the more versatile combat athletes of all time because he did well in boxing at the amateur level. Obviously, his wrestling in the Olympic medal, amazing. And now what he's doing in MMA, hey, man, he's got something going here. And as I mentioned, his ability to dig deep. But, like, dude, do you understand what it takes to make 4 Olympic cycles and then medal in all of them? Like an Alexander Karelin or something? Yeah. When you're at the highest level of the game in a sport that has super refined skills. It's more limited, but it's much harder to master. And everybody in the world does it, and you're stomping on them for 16 years. That's harder to do.
It's super hard. And we're discussing here, the greatest combat sports athlete. We're not discussing the greatest MMA fighter. So it includes, all combat sports, no matter how limited you think they are. So Henry Cejudo has definitely, in my opinion, I mean, I've yet to make the list, so I can't think of others that, right away. But like Cejudo, not only was he amazing at wrestling, but like look what he's doing in MMA. It's not like he's going out there and out wrestling people. Like he was beating.
He is as needed. He did to Johnson.
Well, yeah, that's true. But like for example, against Moraes, he was doing great in the striking, like especially in that second and third round. Right. So
here's what I would say, dude.
Pretty incredible. The fact that like he's gotten so good in the striking, yet wrestling is his base.
Give him his due. What he did on Saturday is incredible. And him making that claim, I don't think it's true, but in him making it, I think he has a right to say things like that. Certainly he feels that way. It makes for an interesting conversation. I think he has the right to bring it up. Like, okay, where does he rank among combat athletes? What he's doing is literally unique because no one else has won an Olympic medal at a gold medal and then become a 2-division champion. It's never happened before. At the same time, when you just ask about like Lomachenko, 2 gold medals, 300 amateur wins, people are like, oh, boxing's more limited. Do you know how much more refined Lomachenko's striking skills are than anyone in the UFC? It's not even close. They're not even in the same universe.
That's why all the UFC champs want to train with that guy.
It's like, what are you talking about? They'd be like, well, it's more limited. Yes, and therefore less refined.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's talk about Tony Ferguson, and it feels like he's getting a lot more support nowadays than in his previous
Not
bouts.
from Dana.
Fan support.
Hey, it's Darren calling from Toronto. Hey, Luke and Danny. I just wanted to talk about Tony Ferguson for a bit. I've been watching him for a while and observed that since the Pettis fight and the whole mental health story came out, he seems to have gained a lot of more fans and fan support. Even when you read his social media or video comments, they're almost all positive and rally for him to get the next title shot. Everyone seems to love him now, and he seems to have a ton of more fans. Have you guys noticed this as well, or is it just me? And that being said, how much value do you think that actually adds to him getting the next title shot? And if you had to take a guess, do you think Tony fights for the belt in 2019? Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
I think definitely not in 2019, but maybe in 2020.
Yeah, they're not going to give him the next fight. I mean, they're setting it all up to not give him the next fight.
But say like negotiations go wrong with Conor,
then he would get it.
Tony's the guy.
It's the same situation as DC, Brock, and Stipe. To the extent Brock walks, sure, they'll do a rematch.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing in this one. To the extent that Conor can't get a deal done, sure, Tony isn't great. If they get a deal done with Conor, forget it. Especially, by the way, now if Poirier wins, I don't know exactly how that changes it because obviously Conor beat Poirier before, so they could just do a rematch there. That's a bit of a weird scenario.
It is, yeah.
Because also
still the bigger fight is with Khabib.
And also Khabib might want an immediate rematch because, by the way, he was undefeated. You're the first person to beat him.
That's right.
So that could throw a wrench.
A lot of things up in the
air. Right.
Yeah.
So that could throw a wrench in the play. But if Khabib wins and they get a deal done with Conor, Tony's going to get railroaded. They're already setting it up. Which, by the way, like women. So I saw this on like MMA History Today. Women didn't even fight in the UFC the last time he lost. I mean, what? I can't believe this guy.
That was what, 2009, I think?
No, 2012.
12, yeah.
But he'd been fighting since before.
I had just graduated high school.
Yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
My first year of college.
What are we doing, dude? What are we doing?
It's crazy. It's insane. But like, have you noticed that like, a lot of people are supporting Tony Ferguson a lot more? I feel like early on he caught a lot of hate, and he was in a way kind of feels like he was in that Cejudo situation where like he was a bit cringy and fans were just hating on him.
Yeah.
But like, you know, they just came around, and I feel like he's getting all the support in the world.
Here's the deal.
We talked about
Here's the deal with cringe, and this I got bad news for people who don't like Colby Covington. If he beats Kamaru Usman, he's still going to have a degree of haters because he provokes more.
Yeah.
But if you can be cringe all you want, if you're cringe and winning, it automatically over time just becomes charming. It's just the reality of it. People were like, they couldn't stand Tony Ferguson before.
You think Covington will become charming?
I think he'll become more charming than I think he'll become much more. If he goes out there and puts it on Kamaru Usman, you watch how fan sentiment turns. Don't misunderstand me. Not the same as Tony. Far from it.
Yeah, I think his type of cringe is a little different.
It is a little different. I acknowledge it's different. But what I'm saying is, if you think that the dynamic with the fans that it is now with Colby is going to be the same if he beats Kamaru, I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Brendan Schaub style, you'd be surprised.
We'll see. Let's talk about Cejudo and possibly going up to 145.
Hey, this is from Mildwood, New Jersey. Hopefully you finally answer my question. It's been a while.
These guys are so bitter.
It's your chance.
So entitled.
No, I'm just kidding. But honest, Henry Cejudo talked about moving up in weight class to fight at featherweight. Do you think he could possibly win another title at featherweight? I know styles make matchups, but it seems like if he could get in there and do dirty boxing with his wrestling, I think there's a chance that he could become a three-division champion. What's your thoughts on that, and do you think it's impossible for him to win that? Thanks.
Well, here's the thing.
Like Justin Bieber said, never say never.
Never.
But
is that a song?
I think that's what he said. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Anyways, but I don't know. Cejudo, look, there was a clear difference between Moraes and Cejudo. Not huge, but Moraes, I don't think he's a huge bantamweight. Man, 145 is just, I think it's too much to ask.
So remember what I just went over there in the Monday Morning Analyst. At distance, what was happening, right? Marlon was tearing him up because at that style of play, he's so much more gifted. Marlon has a reach of 67. All right, so let's play that game, 67 inches. So let's play that game with Max Holloway, for example. By the way, there are other featherweights he could fight. I mean, who knows
right?
Who would be up there at the time. But let's just say they said, you know what? Let's see if we can get a triple champ on our hands, which, by the way, is eventually going to happen. Now, Holloway is only at 69 inches, which is just a couple more, but he's also a lot taller. So having to punch up.
Max is also one of these weird fighters where he's very tall, but his reach is actually not that long.
Right, but he uses it really well.
Yeah, he does.
He gets every inch out of it. And the point being is he's also tall. He's really good at playing that outside game and then forcing people not only back, but he stops the clinch pretty well. To me, when you have stellar takedown defense, you're not only good at the outside, but you're good at maintaining the outside. Marlon's problem was he couldn't maintain the outside space. He kept getting overrun. The waves kept crashing past the barrier. That doesn't really happen with Max. So let's see how by the way, let him fight other bantamweights to see how this goes. Some other bantamweight's going to beat him eventually, I think, probably. That's how history has typically worked. Maybe another flyweight does. You never know. But I'm not saying no to the featherweight thing. I'm just saying plenty of reasons to think he's going to have some problems there.
I think some matchups could benefit him at featherweight, but again, with small featherweights. But if you just start reading the top 5 of the featherweight division, like Alexander Volkanovski, that guy's big. Brian Ortega's pretty big. Jose Aldo's big. I feel like, I don't know. I just don't see him. I just don't see him doing well at 145, and not because he's not skilled. It's just the size difference is going to be weird.
Yeah, but eventually weight classes matter.
Yeah, they're in for a reason, right? Yeah. They're in place for a reason. Yeah. All right, well, let's discuss now what's next for Valentina. Woof, that win was something else.
Rich P, representing Las Vegas, Nevada. We just watched Valentina murder Jessica I in there. My only question is, what's next for her? Does the UFC get behind her, full guns blazing, promotion, everything? And who's her next opponent? Who wants to step in there?
For real. Who wants to step in there, dude?
Kayla Chookagian says she wants that smoke.
I mean, I'm sure fighters do, of course. But, man, that was scary. That was a super scary performance.
Yeah, that was really scary. Yeah. That was, and it was really bad. That was really bad. I made this point again on my personal post-fight special, which was, what do you do when your top contenders, the most deserving person in a division, is so far behind the champ that it ends up being a mismatch? How do you book around that? People are like, oh, they did that for DJ for years. Sort of. The Carriasso fight and the Borg fight were the only 2 fights that he had in terms of an odds that approximated this one. But even then, could she honestly have a series of defenses, let's say 4 or more, where she's a minus 1,000 favorite in all of them? It's honestly possible. And that would be unheard of in the UFC. Yeah. That would be totally unheard of. We might get something like that with her. She is... You ever seen her in person?
Have I met her in person? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know how fighters imagine. I don't know how people who've never met fighters, how they imagine how they look. Yeah. I one time had Kayla Harrison in the studio on my radio show.
Dude, Kayla Harrison is jacked.
Okay, she's super jacked.
Yeah.
There's so I asked you this before. You've seen Yoel Romero in person, right?
Yeah.
Dude, when Yoel walks around, he doesn't look like a normal person.
No.
He looks like he was written by a comic book artist. That's how Shevchenko looks. She's not like a bodybuilder huge, but what muscle she has, nothing jiggles. She's just super
she looks very
chiseled,
very dense,
and dense. And when you add that with someone who's been doing this for as long as she has, and she has skills as refined as she does, I went back and I showed you the timing on the kick.
Yeah, she's so technical.
It's just these other women. They're not even. Here's how she's going to lose. She has to be sick, injured, or make a very serious mistake.
Yeah.
Other than that, she ain't losing.
Or who knows? Maybe in the next 2-3 years, some contender rises up, or somebody from another promotion comes in, and
Macy Barber is interesting. Well, look, am I saying she's ready now? No. In a couple of years, let's see. Let's see how she looks in a couple of years. Yeah. But that's the time horizon that we're talking about here.
Yeah. I also think in discussing what's next, I think if they ever run back Nunes versus Shevchenko, I think there's a possibility Valentina can definitely lose there. I mean, she's lost twice technically to Nunes.
Yeah.
But I think at 125, good luck stopping her.
I don't know who it's going to be. And by the way, I'll say it again. I thought she beat Nunes the second time.
The second time?
Yeah.
I remember it being close, but I don't. I feel like I scored it for Nunes. Yeah, I might have scored it for Nunes, but it was a super close fight.
Reasonable people can disagree.
Doesn't it make it more interesting now with this with these results?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with a home. But I mean, we could potentially have another super fight in the making if the stars align.
Yep.
All right, now let's discuss. I guess looking back now, people were a little bit upset that Ferguson Cerrone wasn't headlining this card. So let's discuss that. Looking back.
Hi, my name's Hayden. I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona. I called earlier, forgot my question, but now I remembered. I'm rewatching the Tony Cowboy fight, and honestly, it's the biggest disappointment I think I've ever seen in
really
the UFC. We have 3 rounds that got robbed by a doctor, where it was beautiful.
Robbed by a doctor.
And then we watched 2 fights that I would believe did not deserve to be over this fight. What is your opinion on star power compared to title fights? Because obviously on this card, title fights are more important than star power, and I think Conor never fights again because of that. Let me know. Thank you.
Can we just address the robbed by the doctor claim here very quickly?
Bro, come on. They should have let him fight. He had one eye.
Like, what is, like, the caller's like, hey, is this the Luke Thomas and Danny Segura show? Hey, man, these doctors got some nerve upholding the Hippocratic Oath. Like, who thinks that way? I don't even understand. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want them to look at that eye and be like, nah, they're good?
Yeah.
First, do no harm. Dingleberries. Like, how is this? Okay. All right. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I have come around on this one, Danny. Would you have been opposed if they had put Tony versus Cerrone at the top of that card? Yes or no?
Yes, I would.
Okay, tell me why.
I like the title fights on top, man.
Okay.
I feel like the title fights, they've been devalued over time, but I think we need to pay respect for the people that made it to the top, right? For the people that are fighting for gold. And look, Tony Ferguson, you can make an argument that Tony Ferguson and Donald Cerrone are deserving for a title shot, and they should have been fighting for a title a while back. But nonetheless, it's not an official title fight, and I feel like that should always go over no matter how big the fight is. I think you can maybe make some exceptions, say Ronda and Conor, say if Ronda ever comes back. But other than that, title should go first. And that's why I'm all for Bellator putting Rory McDonald and Neiman Gracie over Machida and Son. You feel the same way?
I don't. Well, here's what I mean. I don't disagree with anything you said. Like, if they want to make titles at the top of cards, that's fine. Here's the thing that MMA fans and journalists too, by the way, because they make this mistake as often as everybody else does, if not worse. You have UFC leadership under sworn deposition saying, guys, the titles don't mean anything. It's just a trophy we hand out to the best fighter at the end of the night.
Well, who said that? Because I feel
Lawrence Epstein. Lawrence Epstein said it, who is a key figure in that organization. He said it quite plainly. I mean, I believe Lorenzo Fertitta may have repeated it as well. It is a core conviction of theirs. When push came to shove, what the organization maintains is that it doesn't mean anything other than it's something we give to the best fighter that night. Well, if that's the case, then why am I asked to hold it in reverence? And if that's the case, sure, put Tony versus Cerrone at the top of the card. In other words, I like what you said, Danny. There's something to be said for really accomplished people getting featured in really prominent spots, and I think that's fine. Yeah. But I don't know why we're asked to believe something that's a fiction. It is a fiction that it means, according to UFC Brass, you and I can put value on top of it. But at the end of the day, it's not the Danny Segura title, and it ain't the Luke Thomas title, it ain't the MMA Hour title. It's the UFC title. The only value is what they put on it. Under sworn testimony, it has none. So if that's the case, why am I asked to care? And by the way, why shouldn't Tony be at the top of that card? Hello? He was far and away the biggest star on that card, not even a close second. Well, I guess Cerrone was the close second. That's it.
Right. Still, I don't know. Called me old school, but I think titles should go last. Also, like, it would just feel weird to have, like, some crowning a champion, yet, then you put on a regular fight just right after. Like, it just feels anticlimactic. I don't know.
What's the word on Mr. Caldwell? We got an issue?
I texted
the people involved in the show,
and we're still looking into it.
Okay, he's not here.
No, hasn't gone back to me.
Oh, sweet.
So let's answer another question.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about another fighter that was.
All right, sorry. It's just it's just my life. My life is just a farrago of nonsense. Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about another fighter who did quite well, and I feel like she's being forgotten about here with all these crazy finishes that we saw.
Hey guys, it's Joshy Fresh from San Diego again.
I just got done watching the Carolina versus Grasso fight, and oh my goodness, did you expect Grasso to come out looking the way she did? She basically outclassed Carolina, which I don't remember another fighter doing in recent times. Do we have a future star on our hands? Keep up the great work, guys. Peace.
With Carolina?
What do you think of Grasso's performance?
Man, here's the thing. If anyone's ever trained, you'll spend, quite literally, it's possible. I've seen guys who are like, I trained for 6 months, I got blue belt. I trained for another 2 years, I got purple, and then I was purple for 5 years. There can be moments in your career where you just progress like this, and then you just plateau. And I felt like Grasso had kind of plateaued for a little while, except in this last fight, whatever stasis she was in, she had clearly zoomed past, made tons of progress. Conversely, Karolina Kowalkiewicz appears to have entered some kind of situation where she is now in a, what do you want to say, a battle for, she's stuck. She's stuck in the mud. So it's these moments where you can progress, and these moments where you can just train hard and you just can't get better, and then all of a sudden, it clicks.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened here.
Also, I feel like Grasso was given some tough matchups, especially like the Tatiana Suarez one was a really tough matchup with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She really got an opportunity to like showcase her skill because it was someone that is very tough, very skilled, and very experienced as well. But her skill set played well into hers, so it really brought up the best out of her, and that was it was nice to watch.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you need to make a phone call to find Mr. Caldwell?
Yeah. Do you want me to leave you with?
Yeah, leave me with a call, and then the camera will go on me, and then you figure this out because I would like to talk to Darian.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if he was here.
Yeah,
we are waiting for him.
All right. So about Mr. Chris Weidman.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I did not.
The caller will take care of.
I did not pay attention to what he had to say. Okay, go ahead.
Yo, Luke, Danny, Nino from Washington Township, New Jersey. How you doing? I got a question here for you. So recently, Chris Weidman has come out and said that he would like to move up to 205 pounds.
Good.
I just want to know who you think would be a good matchup for his first roundabout at 205.
Whew.
Obviously, a lot of middleweights have been moving up, like Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos. They're having success. Luke Rockhold just moved up also. I just want to know if you think Chris Weidman's going to have a lot of success at 205, and who do you think he's gonna get for his first matchup, or who would make sense for his first matchup? Thank you, guys. Love your show. Have a good day.
Good question. I did not know he had said that, so that's interesting. I would say, what about Shogun? What about Shogun first match? You'd be like, oh my God, Shogun should be done. Okay, well, if he's not going to be done, then how about that? By the way, I got to say this. I love the idea of Chris Weidman going up to 205 pounds. I think it's long overdue. Chris Weidman has a ton of ability. He has a ton left to offer the game. And with people getting a little bit older, putting less stress on their body to make a certain weight, which allows for extra time for skill development, it's just so important. And so you've seen what Anthony Smith has been able to do. You can say, oh, well, he fought in a lesser division when he went up. Right, except he also clearly got better too because he had time in each camp to invest. He had time in each camp to just work on skills rather than, oh, we got to go do some high-intensity interval training. We have to go do road work. We have to go do X. We have to go do Y. We have to go do Z. Instead, we can just invest in the skills. And so I think that would be a huge, huge component. Plus, you could do a Luke Rockhold rematch up there. I don't know about for their first fight. But like here's outside the top 10 because I wouldn't give him somebody in the top 10. You got Alexander Rakic at 11. Rakic I would preserve for somebody else moving up the chain. Maybe they could fight at a later date, but Johnny Walker at 12, same kind of thing. 13 is Shogun, 14 Serkinov, or 15 Krylov. Any of those, I think, would be good.